Valentine's is coming. Where's your boyfriend?
Want to know why I have standards? Because when I was younger, I didn't. I was dating a guy at the time, and while he managed to ruin every single holiday, this one takes the cake. Valentine's Day. We'd been dating 5.5 months at that point. He made no attempt to bring up Valentine's Day plans, and he didn't even text me Happy Valentine's Day. While I was a little bit bummed, I tried to convince myself that it wasn't a big deal. He realized I was a little bit bummed, so he asked me what I wanted to do, and I said just the same stuff. Let's go to the gym and get dinner. So he brought me a donut that somebody had brought into his work office, and then we went to the gym, got dinner, and then he finally posted me on his Instagram after months of not. And that detail is important. It's gonna come back around. Later that night, we were on the couch. He was being a little weird, but whatever. I was showing him something on my phone. I had a message request come through. I swiped it away, thought nothing of it, and then he instantly just got into this serious conversation with me. He said that fucking up Valentine's Day made him realize how much he cares about me, how important the relationship is, blah blah. Then he finally tells me he loves me for the first time. Morning comes and I finally look at that message request. Yep, it's the hey girl text. Sorry girl, didn't know you had a girlfriend. I told him I was gonna say something to you and he begged me to not. She had also sent photos that he had sent her, and my little fucked up brain knew they were old photos, so I just assumed it was before me. I told him she reached out, sent photos, and he was like, yeah, that was before you. But then she deleted his name out of the contacts so that I could see the phone number and sent timestamps with the motherfucking date. So I showed him this, and he doubled down and straight up lied to my face and said, no, that's wrong. This was before you. Now you can tell I'm starting to question a little bit, so when I went to work, he FaceTimed me so that I couldn't call any of my friends, and then he showed up at my work bawling and threatened suicide. I was in social work at the time, so he manipulated me once again with my career and said because I'm a social worker and I know how to help people, I'm the best person for him because he's struggling and he really needs me right now. And guess who stayed? I knew I was too weak to leave. I stayed in a relationship where I lost myself, I was manipulated, gaslit, and I was abused. And I stayed. I have such high standards now because I know firsthand the pain, the effects, and the trauma that comes when you don't. And while I was manipulated, I allowed it. I lost myself, I was living in daily anxiety, and I was being treated like absolute shit. I have standards now because I knew the only way to ensure that that never happened again was to not allow it. I am in control, and I love the shit out of myself now because there was a time where I clearly didn't, and I paid the price. And thank you to that girl.
Valentine's Day. Some people love it, some people hate it, and for some, it turns into a complete disaster. Of course, guys, today we're diving into some of the worst Valentine's Day horror stories. These are just disturbing, cringeworthy, and just downright, believe it or not, shocking. So if you've ever had a very bad Valentine's experience, trust me, when you hear these stories, you'll find out that you're definitely not alone. What's up, beautiful people? Welcome back to my channel. You don't know, it's your favorite island girl, Jody here from the 876. Reminder before we jump into all of this madness, please remember to just like this video for your girl. It's an easy and a free way to, of course, support my channel. And if you're new, consider joining the Islanders family by, of course, hitting that subscribe button. You know, as per usual, I'm gonna tell you for just rock and come in. As per usual, guys, remember all the creators that are shared in today's story times are also linked in my description box. So go ahead and feel free to support them. Now, with that being said, guys, draw a little closer. Picture this, right? You and your partner just decide to spend a simple Valentine's Day together after getting some work done. You know you wanted to grab a bite at your local deli. It sounds sweet, right? But suddenly, out of nowhere, a car screeches around the corner to a halt. Then out of nowhere, a group of men jumps out of said car, chases down your boyfriend with knives. This was supposed to be a day of love. Instead, it turned into a real-life horror scene. Now, guys, go ahead and grab your snacks, grab your drinks, because this one just might have you side-eyeing romance forever. With that being said, let's get into today's video.
Throughout the whole of January 2012, my ex literally gave me pure red flags. But I was so young, I was so naive, I completely ignored them until it literally became evident that I cannot ignore them anymore. So just for context, he had told me that he went to a funeral, which I knew he went to the funeral anyway. So he went to a funeral, and he went to a funeral in an area that he's not supposed to go into because there was a lot of like gang affiliation in these particular areas. So he kind of avoids this area. But he attended the funeral. He left early because it was a Friday and he actually had to go to Jummah prayer. So he left early, like from the service and stuff, so he can go Jummah. So, but either way, like all the man them told him that this is what happened afterwards. There was a shooting and blah, blah, blah. And so he knew that at this point, when there was all this like tit for tat, back and forth between two particular groups, everyone in like the whole area knew what it was on because of the drama that happened at the funeral. So imagine on February the 14th 2012, it was a Tuesday, and because my ex used to have like a clothing business, we basically was packing like his orders and stuff like that, and we left our phones in the office, and we decided to go and get like drunk because we wasn't going to go nowhere on Valentine's. So the shop is literally like up the road. You can see the shop door from his yard, but to get to the shop you have to walk to the end of the road, and then as soon as you cross, like, you're literally there at the shop. So imagine we're walking, we're talking, I've got to the end of the road, I was waiting for this car to drive past me, so it's gone past me, and then I've literally continued to walk. I remember there was this black lady as well, and she was on the other side of the road already, and she was literally walking towards the shop as well. And like, even from her face made me turn around, and when I turned around I can see that my ex was running up the road, like gone, dust out, didn't say nothing, he just cut. And the two boys in the car, that the boys that literally I just literally waited for them to drive past me before I crossed the road, they stopped, hopped out, pulled a knife from their, one of the driver pulled a knife from his sock, and they both ran after my ex up the road. So my first instinct was to just go into the shop, because obviously I don't know what's going on. I was caught off guard, and plus he obviously didn't kind of make it bait that we was together, because he just didn't even talk, he just literally ran off. And because I continued to walk across the road, because I didn't realise that he ran off, it looked as if in a way that I was meeting up with the woman who was already across the road walking to the shop. But anyway, so I've gone in the store, and the shopkeeper, from the woman's reaction, knew something had kicked off. And because in the week I was coming in obviously with my ex, they knew it was him, and he's been living on that road for many years, so they knew the situation that was happening was like to do with him. So she's like, he's getting chased, we need to call the police, there's these two boys, they got knives. And I'm literally like, I don't even know how to feel, because Tuesday I've left my phone in the house, and he left his phone in the house, and he's got the keys to the house. So while I'm in the store, I was probably in the store for about 2 minutes, and then one of the guys from the car came back to the door, and he peered and watched me in my face. So he's looking at me at the door, the guy's looking at me right in my face, and I literally just tried to make it look really natural, like I was kind of like not trying to make eye contact and just keeping it really like normal. Anyway, the second guy who was in the car, he ran back to the car, so then that encouraged the guy who was looking at me through the glass door. And then they both just literally just like got in their car and just like drove off like full speed. So the black woman was like to me, oh listen, just stay in the shop. And I don't know why, but I just left the shop. I left the shop and I started to like, you know, like that sort of like run walk that you do. I started to like trot back up to the house, because I'm thinking like, where is he? These men are gone, so I don't know where he is. So I've got to the house, I've knocked on the door, there's no one there. I've gone back to the path where the car's parked, and I can see him like further up the road running back towards the house. So when he approaches me, he's just like, get in. So he opens the door, we get in the house. And then my ex goes upstairs to change his clothes, and he's just like, you know what, you need to stay here. And he's starting to like just talk about how them man want to try it, and he just absolutely gone delusional, like gone mental, like he knew who these men were. And I'm sitting there confused thinking like, what the hell is going on? Because how is it that you know who these people are? Like, why are they chasing up the road? I'm asking all these questions, he's not answering my questions, he's just talking. It's kind of like he was talking to himself, but like I was just like there. So anyway, he says to me, listen, don't open the door, don't open the window, don't look outside the window, just stay in the room. So imagine he's literally left the yard at about, I'll say about 11:15, he's left the house, and he didn't return until gone 2 o'clock. In that time, I've been like chatting to people on BB, I've been watching EastEnders, like going out of my mind. Any single noise I heard outside the door, I'm thinking someone's gonna lick off the door. Like I was just literally going mad. But I didn't even ring my mum, didn't ring no one. I was literally just like, I don't know why, I was just keeping it quiet kind of thing. Like I was just like, I was thinking they're probably gonna panic because I'm so far away from my parents' house. And anyway, I just thought, okay, whatever. Like I was just, anyway, when I heard his car pull up, like I could breathe. I was just like, okay, cool, like everything's fine because he's back. Now, the way my ex always parks his car, he always parks with the driver's side to the pavement, the passenger's side to the road. And this is so significant. You need to remember that is how he parks his car. Like, even if we was coming from like a regular side, like a regular entrance to the road, he would turn her car around and park so that he can just hop out onto the pavement and not on the passenger side. And I always used to be like, bro, you're so extra, you're doing a whole turn in the road just so you can park the opposite way. Like, that's super significant. You need to remember that, because when he came home that Tuesday night, well, Wednesday morning now, when he's come home, he's parked with the driver's side to the road and the passenger side to the pavement. Remember that.
Oh, okay. So at this point, her husband clearly knows exactly what is going on. The way he took off, now it makes a lot of sense. Based on the series of events that she explained, this clearly isn't just a random attack. There's definitely history here. And I get that maybe, like in the heat of the moment, panic takes over and all. But I feel that she should have at least, call a very good friend of her or even a close family member to let them know exactly what happened. Like, sis, something like that went down. I just believe that somebody else apart from you and your partner needs to know. But anyhow, it gets worse. So just let's continue watching just to see how it all unfolds.
So Wednesday morning when we woke up, we was just like, do you know what, should we just stay in? Like, when you just don't have no plans. And I think from the day before I was quite shaken up a bit because I was still trying to piece things together, and certain things that he told me that night when he come in, I don't even know if I'm allowed to repeat it. I don't even know if I'm allowed to repeat these things. But anyway, he just was talking the most. He was hotting up certain crimes. He was hotting up just things. It was just a bit mad. There was a lot to take in. So in my brain, I kind of felt like I think I should just go to my mum's. When you just think like, I think I need to just leave this area. Anyway, midday now, he got a phone call from his boy and he said, listen, don't leave your yard. So he's like, why not? Like, what's going on? So he said, listen, them man are basically trying to find you. He goes that further up, so basically past the shop on the same road that we was on, past the shop, there's a black family up there and they got their house ran up in, like literally at gunpoint. And I believe it's mistaken identity. I think these boys will obviously circulate in the area now because they're trying to find him. And where they knew that there was a black family, they just literally speculated and thought that must be his family. So they decided to run up in that yard. So you see, when I was by myself listening to all these noises last night, that's what was happening. So anyway, my gut basically said, you need to get the hell out of there. So what I did was I booked my train ticket for the following morning, Thursday morning, yeah? We didn't go out anywhere on Wednesday. We stayed ourselves in the yard, didn't leave the yard, didn't even put the bin out. So I've packed all my stuff ready for Thursday. So on Thursday, the 16th of February, my train from Wolverhampton back to London was 12:30 p.m, right? So afternoon. It was about 12 o'clock and we was getting ready to leave the yard to drop me to the train station. So I've dragged my suitcase down the stairs, and in my brain I was like, why am I dragging my suitcase? I left my suitcase at the front door and I got myself into the car. So I've gone in the car, as you do, you get in the car, you put your seatbelt on, you pull the mirror down, you get your lip gloss out, and then literally at the corner of my eye, at my peripheral vision, right, I can just see this black car, a black Seat, blacked out windows, everything was black. And the car is just there. Now, imagine this is all happening so quick. I've got in the car, as I'm getting in the car, and I've left my suitcase at the front door for my husband to put it in the boot. By the time I got in the car, my husband's dragging my suitcase, like, to the boot. He's literally, think about how fast these things happen. You need to just think about how fast these things happen, yeah? By the time I'm probably just pulling this particular thing here down, yeah, to like look in the mirror, my ex is at the boot, lifting the boot, like to put my luggage in. And at the same time, there is this car that is literally like right here it's right there. I'm pretty sure the guys in the black Seat was literally using clutch control. That's how slow they were driving, like to pass the car. And remember, the passenger side was to the pavement and the driver's side was to the road, when usually it's the other way around. But this time, because he parked the opposite way and he didn't move the car because we never went out on Wednesday, I happened to be at the pavement. So there's me, there's a driver's seat, and then there's the man them, like these guys that are in the black Seat. Guys, it happened so quick, I swear to you now. I literally, like, by the time I really started to put mad concentration onto this car, because it was just there, next minute the front window was like went down, the window went down. The guy in the front, I will forever remember this guy's face. He looks me right in my eye, he looks me right in my face. Someone was in the back seat, their hand came through the front, and it was two guns, the driver and the person that was in the back, and they just started to fire up the car. So in that, as soon as like I saw the first gun come out, I literally went, I can't even explain to you, but like I tried to sink into my chair. I literally, the first instinct that happened, like it was just a natural reaction, was for me to try and like sink in. It was almost like I was like, I don't even know how to explain it. And then my seatbelt locked from like the force of me like literally about to just try and get low in my chair. My seatbelt locked, so then I was literally like, I can't even explain. I was like trying to sink down. Like I can't even give you. Listen. It was mad. So the car's getting shot up. I'm in the car. My ex literally dived down the side, so I can see like down the side of my window. He's literally dived down the side. The boot's still open. They're just firing up the car, and then they've just taken off. And I thought my ex got shot. I thought my ex got licked down. I thought he was done. I thought he was finished, and he just got up. So basically he didn't get hit. Obviously he never got hit, because he noticed them from the first time they started shooting, because they started shooting from like the middle of the car. And then if you had seen the gunshots, they started to go further up, like they were aiming for his head. So anyway, he dived down the side. By the time that they left, he got up, he closed the boot, he ran back round, he got in the car, he literally sped off. We were speeding off, he was screaming, he was shouting, he was telling me to ring someone, he was giving me all these different names that I need to ring, he was telling me to unlock his phone, do this, do that. And I was shaking, my hands were like going absolutely nuts, and I couldn't do nothing. And he was shouting at me because I couldn't do anything. Like I literally couldn't do anything. My mind was discombobulated, my hands, I was shaking, I was completely like, I don't even know, like I couldn't even deep what was going on. And then he's going some next directions, he's still shouting at me, ring my boy, blah blah blah. And I could only, out of all the 10 people he told me to ring, I could only ring one person. And then, so my ex-husband was not going the correct way to the train station. Like I'm in next ends I don't even know about, right? But in Wolverhampton, I knew my way from his house to the train station, and he was not going the right way. So I'm like, why are you not going to the train station? We need to go. I kept checking the time. I'm like, my train's coming, I need to get out. So my ex-husband, he was like to me, Amina, they're mad. Like, they're actually mad. Like, they will fully let off shots outside the train station. I'm thinking, how are they going to know we're going to train station? And he was like, because I was putting your luggage in the boot, they're going to just speculate. They're just going to know that we're going there. So at this point, I'm literally going out of my mind. I'm still shaking. I don't know what the hell to do. I'm thinking I just need to get back to London. And then he was like, okay, this is what we're going to do. I'm going to park around the corner from the station, okay? And I'm going to direct you. You just need to cross the road. You need to go up this alley, up the stairs, and you'll be at the train station. And I'm thinking, oh my gosh, like I'm literally like, my heart is doing the most. I'm shook. And I'm like to him, just please just drop me to the train station. Like I just need to get back to London. I need to get out of Wolverhampton. And anyway, what I realised when we was on our way to like where he was going to drop me is that we were so fortunate that we didn't go the conventional route, because as soon as we got to the set of lights that led like around the corner to the station, if you had seen the lights literally like opposite, you can see this black Seat. The black Seat was going to the train station, guys. It was going to the train station. So anyway, he dropped me around the corner. I come out the car, and that I feel like that's when it even hit me even more, because I saw the gunshots on the car, and my heart was like, oh my gosh. And I went into paranoia. I became so anxious. I feel like I never experienced anxiety until that moment. So I literally walked. I followed the directions. I walked across the road. I walked up the alley. I walked up the stairs, and then I got to the train station. I didn't look at no one. I didn't talk to no one. I just walked. Got to the station, put my little thing, my code thing in for the ticket to come out. I went on the platform and I got on the train. So I got on the train, I sat on the train, I rang him, I said, boom, I'm on the train. I said to him, shall I ring my dad now? So he said, yeah. He said, ring your dad, explain what's happened. So I called my dad, I told him exactly what was going on. And my dad said, do not tell your mum until you get back home. So anyway, after Wolverhampton, I think it's Birmingham New Street station. So when we got to Birmingham, it was like one stop, yeah? So we got to Birmingham New Street. I got to Birmingham New Street station. And the way I dashed my luggage in the little luggage holder bit, and there was people coming on the train, so I got up and I moved my luggage so that someone else can put their luggage like in the same area. And that is when I saw that a gun, one of the bullets had gone straight through my suitcase, and it went in one end and come out the other end. And I promise you, my heart sunk. I started shaking again, and I felt like I'm literally bringing the situation with me home. Like I was bringing the situation home, because there was a bullet that went straight through. I cannot remember what happened from that minute when I saw the bullet hole up until I got home. It's all a blur until I got home, and I literally told my mum everything that happened. So people are asking like my mum's reaction when I came home and obviously told her everything that happened. So basically, my mum had a panic attack. She was really like obviously shook on everything that happened. She was annoyed as well because I hadn't told her about the chain of events that happened that time. And then of course this was like the beginning of so many things being exposed about like my ex-husband and things like that. Another situation that happened after that was he actually thought I was a snitch. And the reason why he thought I was a snitch is because, remember I told you guys he had a clothing business? We actually had a Facebook page, like for his, like people can order and stuff through his Facebook page. And my BlackBerry pen was on there and his was. Obviously people could got like 2 channels of placing orders. Little did we know, the ops, obviously they were trying to get hold of him because he went into hiding after the whole situation. And they would try and contact him, try to set him up, try to get girls to place orders. He started clocking on that he's obviously in the process of like they're trying to set him up. So he stopped responding, stopped replying to their messages, stopped taking their phone calls. And then obviously they become really annoyed because they're trying to get hold of him. And at first he was communicating, then he completely stopped. So they must have sent him a message one day after he kept continuously airing them. And they were like, if we can't get to you, we'll get to your girl. So then he replied and he was like, you don't even know who she is. And they sent him pictures of me. The opposition, all these weirdos, all these psychopathic people that were trying to get him had photos of me. And obviously then I realised they've obviously got these pictures off my BlackBerry like profile picture because they were adding me in numbers. And I was none the wiser. Like I didn't even think about my BlackBerry pin being on the Facebook page, and obviously people trying to get him and all that and trying to like work out where he is and who he can get to. So because they sent him a picture of me, he automatically assumed that I was basically communicating with the ops. And then that was more problems, like obviously that arose in our marriage. And then there was all this other stuff that had been revealed about that. It was just long. But yeah, this is why I couldn't necessarily do a part 6, because things lead to things. For example, them knowing what my face looked like, and the guy who ran back to the shop after they chased him up the road with the knife. Remember, he was watching my face through the glass door window. That's another reason why this time when they came on our road that morning and they waited for us to leave, or so that they could know what the house is, like they didn't know what house we lived at. Because remember, we had the black family up the road who got their house run up in. They didn't even know where or what point of this road he lived on. So when I've come out the house first to get into the car, they automatically knew, boom, this is the yard. So yeah, there's so much to it. So guys, I will write the book, inshallah, this year. I'm going to write the book and you'll know everything in mad detail.
No, man, but I mean, a story is absolutely wild. But first, let me just say this. I am genuinely grateful that she's still alive and well to share her experiences, because, you know, it could have ended so much differently. Guys, I could just bring it back a little bit and I could talk about it. This one is just next level insane. Based on everything that she had revealed, it is pretty clear that her now ex-husband was caught up in some gang-related or some illegal activities. The fact that he was being sought out to the point where they both could have lost their lives in that drive-by, my poor anxiety wouldn't just allow me to even breathe. Even though she said that she could not get into any more details, they put the pieces together, use your head. It's not hard to see the reason why she ended up divorcing him. Her situation was definitely life or death. But you know what really gets me in all of this though? That she shared that this whole situation started on Valentine's Day. And can you imagine, every single Valentine's Day since, I think she said 2012, she's probably reliving this moment and being reminded of this situation, reliving her fear and her trauma. That's definitely heavy. Well guys, let's move on, because I know that last story, was a lot, but we're going to switch up gears just a little bit and get into this next one. Guys, let me know, what would you do if your boyfriend kind of sort of somewhat misled you into thinking that he had this grand romantic plans on Valentine's Day to surprise you, only for it to turn out to be like a regular basic Valentine's night celebration? Let's watch to see how this one all unfolds, because I already know that you guys are going to be dragging him down in the comment section, and most of y'all would not be having it. Let's watch.
Do you guys want to hear about my worst Valentine's Day ever? I'm gonna tell you. So a couple years ago, 5 years ago, yikes, I was dating somebody, and we'd been dating for like 6 months, and I told him, hey, Valentine's Day is coming up. This is my first Valentine's Day with a man, and that's pretty special. I would like to do something special for Valentine's Day, even if it's just like going to dinner, whatever. He's like, yeah, I got you. By the end of January, he still hadn't said anything to me about Valentine's Day. So I asked my friends to go on a covert mission and ask him what he had planned, obviously. So when we were all out at the bar, I went to the bathroom and they asked him, like, what are the plans for you and Brie for Valentine's Day? And he's like, don't worry about it. I got it covered. I got a reservation. Like, you got nothing to worry about. So they report this information back to me and I'm like, beautiful. Love surprises. And it's hard to surprise me. So I was like, this is great. So I got a new outfit. I got him presents. I got him wine. I drew him a picture of us and I wrote him a handwritten letter. And when he came to pick me up, I was so excited. He did have flowers for me, which was the first time he'd ever got me flowers. So I was stoked. I was stoked on the flowers. And on the way there, he was like, where do you think we're going? And I was like, I have no idea. I actually am gonna be so surprised. I'm never surprised. So you really got me this time. And we're like driving out towards the beach. And I'm like, what's near the beach that's like a nice restaurant? Spoiler alert, there's not one. He pulls off into a dirt parking lot. He's like, I bet you know where we're going now. It's one of your favorite places. I'm like, this has to be a joke, because he pulled into the parking lot of a dollar slice pizza place that we go to when we go to the beach all the time. Like literally like a shack. It's a pizza shack. It's like you sit down and you get your dollar slice pizza and your dollar beer and you go on your way. He took me there on Valentine's Day. I was like, this is really funny. This is a good prank. Now take me to the real restaurant, please. No, he was being serious. He was being so serious. So we went into this restaurant, me and my new outfit that I bought. He's like, I ordered you a Corona. I'm like, so romantic. That's what every girl wants to hear on Valentine's Day. So we eat in silence. He can tell that I'm pissed. Not even pissed. I was genuinely just really sad. He pays the $6 tab and we leave. And I'm trying to like salvage the evening. I'm like, should we go out? Should we go to a cocktail bar? Should we go get dessert? Should we go like sit on the beach? Should we go drink that wine I got you? Like, should we do something like even slightly romantic at all? He's like, nah, I gotta be up early. Classic. So we went back to my place and he stayed over and we literally just went straight to sleep. And I was fully like laying on his chest, you know, crying. Couldn't help it. You know what I'm talking about when like you're just so sad and tears are just rolling off your face a little bit. So I'm crying onto his chest, his bare chest, so he can feel it. He can feel it like fully, like it's pooling up there, you know. Just doesn't say anything. He literally just pretended to not even notice that I was fully crying on him because I was so sad. Anyway, I did stay with him after that because I'm like, I'm not gonna break up with someone for a bad Valentine's dinner, although it was really sad. He never apologized. He never acknowledged it. He just took his gifts and left. That was a bummer. And I've since learned that is, men will they will show you exactly who they are by the way that they treat you. He clearly did not love me. He did not care about me that much, because that is not how you would treat somebody that you loved and cared about, especially when they explicitly say to you, this is important to me. So, but I did stay with him because I was 21. And then I found out a few months later that he was cheating on me, actually, the whole time. The whole relationship, Bumble, Hinge, Tinder, random girls in bars, you name it. You name it. He was there.
Boy, oh boy, I don't even know what I would do in this one. For a minute, let me just play devil's advocate here just for a little second. Just excuse me, right? She shared that she got all dressed up and he ended up taking her to like a pizza shack, a spot that they usually go to after the beach. Maybe, and just maybe guys, he's taken there because he genuinely knows that she loves that pizza place. Like in his mind, he's probably thinking that she really loves this spot, so why not take her here? But, you know, they'll come with the big but as always, and as per usual, I'm not talking about my own. I think he could have been honest and just told her beforehand that this is where we're going. Don't forget that she actually asked her friends to go to him to find out about the plans, and he told them that he had actually made a reservation. But the last time I checked, and please correct me if I'm wrong, but I don't think you need to make a reservation to go to a dollar slice pizza for pizza and beer. So I'm not sure where that narrative came from. Clearly, he was lying. As a woman, I completely understand her disappointment. It's not even about the pizza, but it's about the whole effort. The fact that she got dressed up, he got her hopes up, you know, and she was anticipating something extremely special for Valentine's Day. Even shared with him that she has never really experienced like a real romantic gesture in her past relationship. So for him to completely disregard that, I can definitely understand why she was hurt. Of course, guys, let me know what you all think in this situation. Was she being petty for getting upset and disappointed about the whole situation? Or do you think that he didn't care or didn't even put out much effort? She even found out later on that he was actually cheating on her. So it makes me wonder, could it be that he didn't put in any effort after all because he was occupied otherwise? I'll continue this conversation, of course, down in the comments. Now, Islanders, let's get into this next one. Imagine this, guys. You're in Vegas for a work trip, but you took your partner with you, and it's all gonna be on Valentine's Day. You know, you're expecting a full night of romance, good food, and a little adventure, you know, here and there. Instead, you ended up with a food poisoning. One minute you're vibing, thinking that, you know, you're gonna have a grand Valentine's weekend getaway, and the next minute you're fighting for your life in a hotel bathroom. I know I told you guys to grab a snack earlier, but at this point, I'm gonna tell you to just wrap it up a little bit until we get through this next story. You can't say me never warn you. That being said, let's watch.
I'm like high-key traumatized for Valentine's Day because I had like the worst Valentine's Day last year. Probably shouldn't even tell the story, but I'm gonna tell it. I was invited to go speak at a conference last year, which was like one of the biggest things that I've done in my career. It was really exciting. The conference like was on Valentine's Day, so I was like, this is great. I'll bring the person that I'm dating. We'll spend Valentine's Day together in Vegas. It'll be awesome. So we're about to leave on this trip, and I just like casually get a little bout of food poisoning, which lasted the entire trip. So that was absolutely terrible. So just know all of the events that are going to happen after this, I am literally, it's coming out. It's coming out all ends. So before we go on this trip, the assistant that I was working with at the time informed me that her boyfriend was approved to go on this trip with us. And I was like, well, considering this is my business trip, I think it probably would have been better if you asked me if he could go on this business trip with me, but you know, it was already done, so I was like, let's make the most of it. So I'm off the airplane, Ubering to the hotel. I'm like ready to really hunker down in my hotel room, bathroom, if you know what I mean. And this assistant, allegedly, all of this is alleged, has been spending so much time with her boyfriend that she did not get our room situated. So we got there and it was another 3 hours until we got into our rooms, which was a little bit excruciating for me as I was having to use the lobby restroom for quite long periods of time. And even at this point, I was like, okay, we all need to chill. Everyone's kind of like stressed out. And I am generally a pretty patient person, so I didn't really let this get to me. I was just kind of like physically a little bit not feeling well. So we finally got to the hotel room and I had like an hour to get ready for dinner, and also Cirque du Soleil invited me to go see their Michael Jackson show. So I start getting ready and everyone was asking me what I wanted for dinner, and I was like, let's go get sushi. Everything's coming out of me crazy. And I've had such a stressful day, and the only thing I want at the end of a stressful day is sushi. So we get to the sushi place, my assistant, her boyfriend, nowhere to be found. Sorry, she was not my assistant. I'm remembering now, her title was coordinator. And it's not like she was like waiting on me hand and foot. Like, she just needed to coordinate the events and like the hotel room and the flight and stuff like that. Sorry, I've been thinking about assistants recently. I don't know why I said that. So they show up like 45 minutes late for dinner, which like we only had like around 2 hours to actually be at dinner before we had to be at the show. And I was assuming maybe they would just like get a drink or something, because like ordering a whole meal and eating it that fast, like it just wasn't possible in that allotted time. Her man shows up and literally starts complaining that we are eating sushi. In my head, I was like, you were not even invited to this by me. The waiter literally comes to us and he says, do you have anything with bacon in it? And to that, I like didn't even say anything, because I think I was just really kind of shocked by the whole thing. And I was just like, okay, like, Okay. Their food got there, they scarfed it down. We got there a little bit late. It was a little nerve-wracking for me because I'm a very time-oriented person, but you know, I was trying to be as understanding as possible because, you know, there are other people on this trip. And I didn't want to be the one freaking out, even though looking back at it now, like it was my trip. So maybe I had a little bit of a right to freak out. The next day is when everything kind of went downhill. So go to part 2 and I will finish my story. This is part 2 of the most traumatic Valentine's Day I've ever had. So it's day 2 in Vegas, and this is when things are starting to really go kind of downhill. I am starting to get really nervous about the conference the next day because I had just not spoken in front of people in so long. I was just getting nervous because the person that I was with at that time couldn't really handle alcohol properly. And so I was like very straightforward and I was like, listen, tomorrow's a really big day. Like, I think that we should just not drink. Flash forward to that evening, he is uncontrollably throwing up in our hotel room. Okay, I think I need to peel this off. Ooh. Ooh. This looks awful. I just put more lip mask over it. It still looks bad, but we'll figure it out. But yeah, he's throwing up all night, literally cannot even get out of bed to throw up, is literally turning to the side and vomiting on the carpeted floor of the Hilton. And listen, I get it. I've had my fair share of nights like that, okay? I totally get it. But I think what really got me is the fact that I asked because I saw this coming, and also because I needed to be up at 8:30 in the morning the next day to get ready so I could speak in front of like 100 people. People always talk about like moments where something will happen and they know their relationship is over. Like, that was my moment. In that moment, I like really knew. I was like, you can say that you care about me, but like your actions right now when I really need it, like really just show the opposite. I was still struggling with food poisoning. I was feeling like the people on my trip that were supposed to be helping me out were not helping me. It was Valentine's Day. This like opportunity to speak at this conference was like one of the most important things that I've done so far. Like, these are all reasons why your partner should want to make things easier for you. And I was just slowly realizing that things were not being made easy for me. I was just kind of an afterthought on my own trip. And to top all this off, my coordinator was not responding to me because I think she was either getting breakfast with her man or they had a crazy night and she was asleep. So a lot of the things that we had to get done in the morning before I spoke didn't get done. And this was the point that my patience with everyone completely started to wear. I was getting so frustrated because I just felt like everyone was doing whatever they wanted to do on my trip, and I was the only one being responsible and trying to actually make this work. I literally got up to go draw the curtains and there was just a pile of vomit. I'd never seen anything like that. It was nauseating. The room smelled just, oh my God. So I told him, I was like, I don't think that you should come to the conference. I think that you should just stay in the room and just rest and get better. And he was like, no, I have to come and support you. I was like, okay, if you wanted to support me, that should have started from last night. These lashes are really pretty. So I kicked him out of the room and I got ready. And while I was getting ready, I was like, oh my God, it's Valentine's Day today. After I was done getting ready, I went downstairs and I was like freaking out because my coordinator still had not figured out where I needed to be and we were running really late. And like I was saying earlier, I am a very time-oriented person. So when I am late to things, it makes me really upset. Literally, you guys, I sit down and I tell someone else on my team, I was like, listen, I know that we were supposed to do like dune buggies later today, but my stomach hurts so bad. My boyfriend is throwing up. He's not going to be able to do this. Like, I just don't think that we're going to be able to do that. I'm sorry. And He's like, that's totally fine, no worries, let's just get this over with. My coordinator and her boyfriend came down, and this person on the team was like, listen, can you please cancel the dune buggies because Cass doesn't want to do it anymore. My coordinator's boyfriend literally looks at me and goes, we're not doing the dune buggies anymore? Why aren't we doing the dune buggies anymore? And then my coordinator starts like echoing what he's saying. She's like, we're not doing why aren't we doing the dune buggies, Cass? I literally saw red. Listen, I have never been the type of person to make something about myself when it is not about me, and I will sometimes really struggle to demand the spotlight be on me if it's not like naturally on me. And so I think I was getting a little frustrated, so I said, oh my god, I said, because this is my trip and I don't want to do it. And I felt so bad after I said it, but I was just pushed to a place, and I couldn't, I was so stressed. But yeah, eventually I made it on stage, and I literally just watched my ex-boyfriend stand there and every 10 minutes walk to the bathroom to go throw up. And it was distracting, and it was heartbreaking, and it was the worst Valentine's Day I've ever had, and I think it was probably like one of the worst days that I've ever had. Oh my god, you guys, I'm literally filming this and Kellen just texted me. My god. It's just so crazy. Oh, I don't want to cry, fuck. It's just so crazy how much can change in a year, and how much finding a person that actually cares about you, like, just changes your life. Yeah, that's my story of the most traumatic Valentine's Day I've ever had.
Oh dear, I guess her whole Valentine weekend was just a big mess from the start. Let's break it down. She came on the trip already being sick with a stomach bug. Couldn't even get in touch with her event coordinator. That's another topic for another day. Anyway, finally got her public speaking gig sorted. Her boyfriend goes and gets drunk the night before, wakes up with a hangover. Like, baby girl, is where you're born. Seaside? How you want to start? It's just one thing after the next. Son, here's where I have a little thoughts, and let me know how you guys feel about it. I feel that she should have still allowed her project coordinator and her boyfriend to go to the dune buggy ride, even though she personally wasn't up to it. Part right there, she was giving a little main character energy. If I can't enjoy it, then nobody's going. Let me know what you all think. Do you agree, or do you think she had a right to feel upset? And if you're enjoying the content thus far, I reach you right to the end of the video and like and subscribe. Remember to go ahead and do so. Just a gentle reminder. With that being said, guys, let's keep watching.
So I was talking to this guy that I met on Hinge, right? And everything was going amazing. Everything was going great, actually. The communication was there. I thought we were on the same page. We went to Paris. We were going on dates every week, having phone calls, phone conversations every night. And then all of a sudden, his demeanor changed, and I realized it, but I didn't say anything. He asked me to be his Valentine early January, right? And I told him, I was like, of course, I would love to be. And then like maybe like a couple days later or a week later, I was like, I would love for you to ask me, like, you know, with a card or something, like something sweet, like ask me something sentimental, right? So he's like, oh, I'm wondering, he was like, I wish I would have thought of that myself, you know, whatever, but it wasn't a big deal to me. So he paid for everything. He paid for all the dates. The only thing I paid for was when we went to Paris, and I paid for my own room because I told him that's what I wanted. So, like I said, his demeanor changed, and I was like, I'm gonna, you know, okay, I'm gonna preach for a little bit, but I want to learn how to love better. I want to love better. I want to love people in my life better, not only relationship wise, but just like friendships and, you know, family members. And when you look at 1 Corinthians 13, when God describes love, the first thing he describes love as is patient. Love is patient. Love is kind. If I want to love, and if God is love, the first thing that God says love is patient. So if this man is having a hard time, something is weighing heavy on his heart, let me be patient with him. Let me give him the time to like get his words out, right? 4 days pass, we finally end up having a conversation why he's acting the way he's acting. Because, all of a sudden things have changed. Basically, he says that he wants to be, he doesn't know if we're compatible because he wants to be in a dynamic where he treats, then the girl would treat, then he treats, and the girl would treat. And so I'm like, are you looking for 50-50? He was like, no, maybe like 75-25, vice versa. Sometimes me, sometimes them, sometimes me. And I was like, I've explained to this guy multiple times that I'm that way when I'm in a relationship. You're courting me right now. You're not my boyfriend. But you're courting me. You're getting to know me. And, we're going on dates. So, yeah, I am expecting for you to pay. But we've been out before and I've paid because I realized he was paying for a lot of things. And I told him, like, that's something I do when I'm in a relationship, but I really like you. So can I, treat you back? So that was kind of BS, you know what I mean? But what really got me was that he was like, I don't know if we're compatible because I'm looking for someone that's going to treat me back and all of this stuff. And I explained to him that, about the whole, like, I would do that if, you're my boyfriend, but you're not my boyfriend. We're getting to know each other. And he said, well, this is why I have a hard time saying love. And, this is why, I don't really like, I haven't had a girlfriend for 10 years. You have commitment issues. And you could have just said that before. But anyways, what really got me, what was the kicker for me was that, and this is kind of like okay, let me just say it. Lord, and I pray that you help me say how I feel it. Little did he know I had just bought him, I started preparing his Valentine's Day gifts, like I got him a YSL cologne because he said he wanted to have like a signature scent. He's not really into scents like that. He wants to get into it. I got him a YSL cologne, right? I was gonna make him like a boyfriend basket. He's not my boyfriend. I was gonna make him one though because I like him. So I bought that. He's a chef who wants to get into baking, so I did my research on cookbooks, and the day before I ordered him a cookbook, the Dessert Person, which is a very popular book within the baking community. I got him that. I was gonna put that in the basket. I was gonna get him a Aritzia sweatsuit. I was gonna get him just like a silk pajama set. Like I was just gonna get him all these things. Had already bought like half of the things already, and little did he know that. And it just is like going back to when the Lord talks about what love is patient. I'm over here trying to extend patience to you. I'm gonna give him time to explain himself to me. Like I'm gonna give him time to figure out what's weighing on his heart. You couldn't do the same for me. So I asked him, I didn't tell him though. I didn't tell him all of these things. So I'm like, so you're unsure about me? He hesitated. I said, you're unsure about me. So if you're unsure about me, I'm 100% unsure about you now. And I would never sit here and try to invest into someone who's unsure about me. So I took my exit. So I think my dad's about to have a new cologne, or one of my best friends. But am I going to stop believing in love and all of that? No!
While growing up, I've always heard that if you have no expectations, then you can't be disappointed. If we're to be real with ourselves, it is easier said than done. I totally understand that in, the early stages of dating, or, in the talking stage, getting to know someone, feelings of excitement, and scientifically speaking, your brain is basically on that dopamine high with this little honeymoon phase. As time passes, reality starts to set in. You might realize that you're not ready for that level of commitment, or maybe that person isn't just right for you. For me, guys, I always tell me beat this go and beat this come. For me, communication is key, whether good or whether bad. But let's be real, people communicate on the level of how they know how to communicate. I just wish though that he would have been, a little bit more open about how he is actually feeling. And she also mentioned that he hasn't been in like a relationship for over 10 years, and she took that as a sign of his potential commitment issues. Honestly, I wouldn't automatically think that he has some commitment issues, because if you think about it, some people are really intentional about who they want to be with. If it takes them 10 years to find that right person, it doesn't necessarily mean that they are afraid of commitment. Sometimes it just means that they have a particular standard and they refuse to settle. Either way though, it's unfortunate that it didn't work out. She had so many plans and she seemed like such a sweet girl, and who knows. But anyway guys, I want to add this, I loved her energy, I loved her analogy, how she draw for the scripture, love is patient, love is kind. This is not just to be applied in romantic relationships, but in friendships as well, and generally just how we treat people. Spiritual guys, let me know what you all think about this in the comment section. Was she being cautious, or do you think that this man had deeper commitment issues? Now, that was a mouthful. What would you do if you found out that you were being cheated on Valentine's Day? Let's watch.
I'll be telling you guys the story. I found out I got cheated on Valentine's Day. As I get ready for the gym, it's Valentine's Day. He did the absolute most for me this day. I'm talking about he took me to like a really nice restaurant. He bought me like some really nice gifts. And it's kind of sad, but I actually wasn't used to that. So for me, it did start coming off as a little weird. I had a gut feeling that something was not right. I was playing it cool. I was like, as soon as this man falls asleep, I am going to check his phone. So I waited for him to fall asleep, and I already had this problem with this one girl that he was talking to way too much, because back then, like on Snapchat, we had like best friends. I was always his best friend until he met this girl. She became his best friend, and I'm like, how are you going to be talking to someone more than you're talking to your girlfriend? Like, basically convinced me that it was fine, that it was just a friend, that I shouldn't be worried about anything. That happened was that he was posting me that day for Valentine's Day, but he had this girl blocked from seeing his stories, and I just knew, like right then and there, that second that I saw that, I just knew it in my heart. I'm cheating on me with this girl. So I literally woke him up, and I was just like, please, 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 for the first time in your life, be honest with me. I just asked him, I'm like, are you cheating on me with her? Sorry guys, I did my hair real quick. Just thought he was sitting there contemplating whether he should tell me or not. And he like literally blurps it out. He's all like, I cheated on you. And I was like, there's no way. I started pushing him, and I was just all like, what do you mean you cheated on me? Like, did you kiss her? Like, what did you do? He's all like, I cheated on you. And I was just like, I literally made him sit there and tell me every single detail. I wanted to know exactly how it happened. Even though, like, I feel like he didn't tell me the complete truth. He told me, he kind of did it and then he stopped and he left. And he told me that he literally felt like killing himself after that. Like, he was just like, I completely regretted it. I'm like, if you regretted it, why would you block her from seeing our stories? Like, you would have just stopped talking to her. And I literally told him right there, I'm like, block her. Like I'm leaving. Like, I'm done. Because keep in mind, like, I drove out all the way to San Jose to see this guy. And I live in Stockton. But I'm from San Jose, so that's how I met him. I basically drove out to him. So I'm like, I don't care. Like, I'm going home. I started packing my stuff, and he was literally on the floor begging me not to go. He was hitting himself, telling me not to leave. I actually had to stop him from hitting himself because it was just not like playing. Like, it was genuinely like hurting himself. Like, literally, like, why are you crying? Like, I should be the one crying right now, not you. And then like I left, like I went outside. His mom, he stopped me. She's all like, hey, like, where are you going? And like I was just hella crying to her. I'm all like, he cheated on me. Me and his mom had a really good relationship. Absolutely love her. She'll just check up on me here and there, but she's the sweetest person ever. And she's just like, I can't believe he did that. Like, you know what, like, I don't want you to drive home like this. Like, just sleep with me, and then you can leave in the morning. And I was just all like, I went back in, and I just ended up like still staying with him. And then the next morning I told him, like, we're done, like, I'm leaving. I can't do this. And like, my family already hated him, and I felt like I couldn't even go home because I already knew. I could already hear my dad. My dad was gonna be like, I told you about that boy, like this and that. So I just drove to my friend's house, and I cried to her and her mom. I was so heartbroken, you guys. I was so in love with this man. This was my first everything, my first love, like everything. I still ended up getting back with him a week later because I didn't want him to get with this girl. And honestly, for about 6 months, I genuinely tried to make it work. But I feel like I stayed with him a year after that, but for those 6 months I really did try, and I just couldn't forget about it. It just was not healthy, like crying myself to sleep. So yeah, I did leave a year after that, but 6 months before even like so I stayed with him for 6 months, and then 6 months I kind of mentally, so for like 6 months I was already mentally like checking out. You know, I started going to the gym. I know, like, because a month into my weight loss journey, like that's when I broke up with him. Not that I was like, he actually didn't want me to lose weight, and I feel like it was because he kind of already felt like I was going to leave. So yeah, and then here we are now. I'm a fitness content creator in a way, but yeah, that's what happened. And I did talk to him a few months ago. It's all love. But yeah, hopefully you don't mind me sharing this. I doubt he'll see it. He doesn't really do TikTok, but you know, like at the end of the day, like it was a lot of good and bad, and I accepted that love when I shouldn't have. And I feel like it was something I had to go through to basically be the person that I am now, and learn what I want in a man and what I don't want. So yeah, everything's for a reason, you guys.
Sidebar, am I the only one who noticed that she actually put on a full glam to go to the gym? Sis, come on. Me know say yeah, cap. Even though, yeah, I understand that she's a content creator and content creators are going to create. The way she's gorgeous, I'm gonna have to give her that. Oh, let's get into the real tea. When you suspect that there is another woman in your relationship and your partner hits you with the classic, no worry about she, babes. Don't worry about her. Please, sis. Worry about her. Let me know if you agree with this. Heard this so many times, and I've lived it in my own reality. Moment that you have a good feeling about a particular girl, and then your partner don't place it. Months later, you eventually find out that either they're already together, or maybe as soon as you two break up, then boom, they are a full-blown couple, like clockwork. And I always have to clock that tea. For usual, guys, let me know in the comments if you've ever had this experience, because at this point, this is like a universal rule. Being said, I'm so happy that she was able to eventually move on. You know, it's unfortunate that after he cheated, she still gave him another year of her life. I'm not saying that for every relationship that experiences infidelity is actually doomed. Some people actually come back stronger, whether they want to believe it or not. It's usually rare, but it does happen. For me personally though, cheating is my deal breaker. I just know myself. I'm not gonna fool myself. Let's move on to the next story. And this one isn't exactly like a Valentine's Day horror story, but I honestly think it is worth watching. Let's watch.
Stitch this video and tell me your creepiest or weirdest dating story times. I want to hear these stories and watch these videos and be like, girl or boy, what? I have been asking for these stories because I've been doing this series called Spooky Scary Dating. And this girl, Sabrina, sent me hers. So she met her ex, Joe. I gave him that name. She said she wanted to keep him anonymous, but she met Joe when her company rented out a boxing gym in their city for a company bonding experience. Sabrina said she's sharing her story simply because she is dying to know what other people think about why her ex behaved the way he did, because her and her friends have spent hours poring over every detail of the relationship and they have no conclusions. She said at the time her company was very concerned about their employee well-being and bonding with each other. So employee outings were pretty normal, but they rented out this boxing gym. They go there one Sunday morning, and Joe, her ex, is one of the trainers. She noticed he was cute right away, and he seemed to notice her too because he was giving her all this extra attention and showing her how to properly punch or whatever boxers do. She couldn't really make a move though because she's with her boss, all of her coworkers. So she thinks she's never going to see him again when they leave. But when they leave, they take this company photo, which the boxing gym then puts on their Insta account for marketing purposes. After the photo goes up, I guess one of her work friends commented on it, and then her work friend had a photo of her and Sabrina. Joe requests to follow Sabrina because her Insta is private. He slides into her DMs. He's like, hey, it was really nice meeting you the other day. He's like, I would have asked you out, but I know that you were with your coworkers. I was at work. It would just be inappropriate, but like, you know, I'm just shooting my shot. And she was like, oh, I really thought you were cute too. He's like, cool, text me. Gives her his phone number. She texts him. They arrange to meet up. He's like, do you want to go on a date? She's like, yeah. He's like, what do you want to do? She's like, let's go hiking, because she's thinking he's going to like hiking because he seems like he's active. Like his Insta is basically just like photos of him in the gym, like training showing people a few like aesthetic photos of his apartment. Nothing really strange, but she just thought that he would be into hiking because he seems like an active person. And she really liked nature. He responds right away. He's like, I don't like the outdoors. She's like, okay. He's like, well, there's this new Marvel movie. I don't know what the year this was or what movie it was, but there's a new Marvel movie. She's like, I don't really like Marvel, but like I wanted to go out with him. So she agrees. The day of the date, they meet at a arcade, which is in the same plaza as the movie theater. She didn't say the name of it, but I'm getting the vibe of like Dave and Buster's because she said it was like a mix of like kids and adults, and it's just like a bunch of games, like a restaurant and a bar. They have an hour to kill before the movie starts. So she goes to the bar. She's like, do you want a drink? He's like, I don't drink, but go ahead. She gets a drink. They're walking around. She's like, do you want to play a game? He's like, I don't know. And she's thinking like, why would you want to come here if you don't drink and you don't want to play games? So she finds like a 2-player game. She's like, come on, just play with me. It'll be fun. She gets tokens. He's like, okay, reluctant, but sure. The game is an action game, 2 joysticks. Before he plays, he pulls out a pair of plastic gloves from his pocket, puts them on, and then plays. When he's done playing the game, he takes a pack of baby wipes, takes the gloves off, wipes his hands, then uses hand sanitizer. She said this was after COVID, so she thought he was just being like overly cautious because they were in an environment with like a lot of people. Not that weird to her. They go to the movie. She's like, do you want popcorn? He's like, yeah. They get in line. They get up to the cashier. He orders the popcorn. But then he tells the cashier that he wants her to make him fresh popcorn because he doesn't want the popcorn that's been sitting in the machines all stale. So they reluctantly make him fresh popcorn. Then he asks for a glass bottle of water, to which they say they don't have it. Do you want plastic? He's like, no. Will you just get me a cup of water from the fountain, but will you unpack a new sleeve of cups from the plastic and use a new one? So the cashier's like, sure. She does it. Sabrina said that she, at this point, just thought he was a germaphobe, but like, she's not going to call him out on it. She's not going to like say anything to him because she doesn't really know him, but it did stand out to her. They go in, they watch the movie, everything's fine. They get up after they're done watching the movie. He takes out the same pack of baby wipes, wipes off his clothes wherever his clothes touch the movie theater seat. After the movie, they're out in the parking lot. They talk for a little while. He asks if she wants to go hang out somewhere else for a little while. She says no because it's a work night for her. But on the way home, she's thinking that she does really like him. He was funny. He was polite. He paid for her date. And she got along really well with him. She felt like she could deal with the germaphobe thing. So when he texts her later and he's like, hey, I had a really good time with you. Do you want to hang out again this weekend? She's like, yeah. She tells him that she has some free time on Saturday because she has a friend's going away party later that night, but she can meet him first. He's like, cool, do you want to go get coffee? She's like, yeah. She's thinking that if coffee goes well, she's going to invite him to the friend's going away party with her. They go get coffee. This man brings his own coffee to the coffee shop in his own mug. She's like, okay. She gets her coffee. They sit down. They're talking for a little while. Everything is going well. She's waiting for him to explain his germophobia. He doesn't, but then it's time for her to go. So she's like, hey, I have to go to this bar for my friend's thing. Do you want to come with me? He's like, yeah. He goes with her. He gets along with all of her friends, but the strange thing was he did not sit down the entire time they were there. I guess they were all scattered around like tables in the bar. He just stood the entire time, didn't touch anything. I guess as the night went on, she gets a little bit intoxicated and he eventually excuses himself. He's like, hey, I'm going to get going. Like, it was fun hanging out with you again. He leaves. She wakes up the next morning, horrible hangover. She texts him. She's like, oh my God, like, I don't know if I did anything embarrassing. Like, I'm so sorry. Like, I really did want to hang out with you. I normally don't drink like that. It was just, the night got away from me. He was like, it's okay. Like, I'd love to see you again this week if you have time. He's like, maybe you can come over. I'll make you dinner. She's like, okay, cool. So later that week, she goes over to his house. She gets to his apartment, realizes that his germophobia translates to his apartment. Everything is covered in plastic. When she walks in, he's like, will you please take your shoes off and use the hand sanitizer right there? So she does, but then she asks him, she's like, hey, what's with the germ thing? Like, I've noticed, at the movie theater and with my friends, and you don't like to touch anything, and your apartment's like this clean, like, what's going on? And he's like, oh, honestly, I grew up in a hoarder house, and it really triggers my anxiety to have anything out of place, and like, germs are just something that I can't stand. She's like, okay, that's reasonable. She's like, there are worse things to be than a clean freak. The night goes on. They actually have a really great time together. She did notice that anytime she got up from wherever she was sitting or standing, he would like run over with like, sanitizer spray and like clean where she was sitting. And so she eventually just says to him like, hey, I really like you. I think you're great. Is this going to get in the way of like a potential relationship though? He basically tells her, no, I've had relationships before. They've worked out. Like, it's just something that you'll learn about me and we can make it work. And she's like, cool. They end up dating. I'm going to glaze over some details of this story just to make it faster. But basically, anytime they went out to a restaurant, he did the same thing that he did at the movie theater. He made like waiters polish silverware in front of him, but really he just liked to eat at home. He really liked to eat clean anyway. He was very into fitness and she was okay with this. He made her food too. He also could not stand to be at her apartment because he said that it was too messy, even though she says that she's a relatively clean person, and it gave him anxiety. So a lot of times they were over at his place. She would spend the night over there. But also anytime they were intimate in any way, he would make her take a shower first and he would put plastic down on the bed. She didn't object to this too much. She thought it was just something that if she wanted to date him, which she did, it was just something that she would have to deal with. And she didn't really tell her friends about it because she was kind of embarrassed. One night she's going out with her friends, so they're not together. They're not supposed to hang out. They have no plans. Things got weird. She was out. She was posting on her stories, just like her night. He starts blowing up her phone, which she had gone out in the time that they were together and he had never objected to it before. But he starts blowing up her phone, basically telling her he doesn't like it when she drinks because she's letting spirits in. At first, she thinks he's talking about alcohol. So she's like, what do you mean, like, I'm letting spirits in? He's like, when you drink, you are susceptible to things entering your body. So she thinks this is like a germ thing. And she's like, you're overreacting. Like, I can drink if I want to. I'm an adult. He ends up blowing up at her, screaming at her on the phone. She hangs up on him. The next day, he calls her. He's like, can we talk? She's like, yeah. He's like, come over to my place. She goes over there. He explains to her that his ex-girlfriend is the reason that he's insecure when it comes to her drinking. Like, I guess his ex-girlfriend, whose name is Michelle for this story, Michelle cheated on him because she would always go out, drink, and then cheat on him. So he tells her that he has insecurities when it comes to her going out because he thinks that she's going to do the same thing to him. She assures him, like, baby, I'm not, I'm into you. And then he basically just tells her, well, if you want to continue this relationship, like, I'm just not comfortable with you drinking. She's like, fine, I'll give up drinking. Now, he had talked about his ex named Michelle in prior conversations about how she was perfect, about how she was just as clean as he was, about how he never had to worry about her bringing anything to the apartment. After this conversation, Sabrina got curious and she tried to like FBI her and was like looking her up on the internet, but she couldn't find any accounts linked to Michelle. Then one day she's like moving apartments. She logs into her marketplace messages and she's trying to sell something. And she sees that she has a message request from like 2 months prior. The message is from an account with no other information, no friends. It's obviously made for this purpose. But the message just says, hey, Joe is dangerous. She messages back. She's like, who is this? Like, is this Michelle? And the person responds and they're like, who's Michelle? So she tells Joe about it. She's like, I got this message, blah, blah, blah. He freaks out. He's like, I got to go to the gym. I'll call you back later. While he's at the gym, it's like 4 or 5 hours later, she goes to message this account back and realizes there's no more account. It's been deactivated. At another point, she goes over to his mom's house to have dinner to meet his mom. His mom's house is pristine, like no hoarding situation whatsoever. She asked Joe about it and he's like, oh, she's cleaned up her act. She's not like that anymore. Now, the timeline gets a little hazy, but I know they were together for about 6 months before she ended up breaking up with him. During this 6 months, after she meets his mom, she finds a text on his phone to an unknown number. And the text is from Joe to this number and it says, I think she knows. The number texts him back. It says, are you going to tell her? He says no. She asks him what it's about. He says, oh, it's a work thing. She tries to call the number from her phone, from her friend's phones. The number never answers. She never found out who it was. She searched it in Venmo. She searched it everywhere. Could not find out who this number was. She ends up breaking up with him after they go to Mexico on a couple's vacation. There's a man on the street who has a parrot. He's taking money for photos with the parrot. She says she's going to do it. Joe objects, but she does it anyway. The parrot gets on her shoulder. It climbs on her head. He's like, animals are disgusting, this. She wakes up that night to him shaving her head. It wasn't like all of it, but it was like a strip. And she like freaks out. He's like, oh, I was just doing it because we couldn't get that out of your hair. That was it. Blocked on everything. She never found out what his deal was. Never found out why he was the way he was. So yeah, stitch this and tell me your story.
What in the monkeys happening here? Seriously though, I don't understand the deal with a germaphobe working in a gym. I mean, I see the correlation. How does that even work? You're such a clean freak and you're wiping down everything inside. Then how do you survive one of the germiest places ever? And this is just right up next with the hospital. Just make it make sense. Anyhow, I digress. It's bad that she didn't get to figure out fully what his whole deal was. And again, maybe it was the best thing for her. Some things are just better left unknown. At least, she's still here to share her story with us. These stories were definitely a mouthful. Valentine's Day isn't for the weak. 1 minute you're expecting romance and the next minute you're caught in just some straight up foolishness. As per usual, guys, let me know which one of these stories were the worst one for you. Of course, drop your thoughts down in the comments below. And of course, guys, this is where we're going to wrap up all our madness for today. If you haven't already liked or subscribed, now is the time to go ahead and do so. And if you want to continue to watch more relatable, crazy story times like these, you can go ahead and click that up next video with it right here so on your screen and enjoy the day away. As per usual, guys, thank you again for sticking with me until the end of another video. My name is Jody and I aspire to inspire. Until next time, guys, walk good and happy Valentine's Day when it comes.